When I came in to set up the presentation, the lady that helped me set it up said she'd never seen somebody use an iPad for the presentation. And that's what every audience has said since last April, a year ago in April, when I started doing iPad presentations. Gee, I didn't know you could do that. So I have the presentation on the iPad, and I will thumb through the slides by swiping my finger across it, just like you'd run any other thing. From time to time, I may wander away, and I may decide to use my iPhone as the remote controller for it. So it's set up to do that. If I had an iPhone 4, which this is the old one, if I had the iPhone 4, I could actually run the presentation completely off of here without the iPad at all, hook it up to the slide projector. In the next generation of projectors and adapters, wireless adapters, you'll run the presentation from a device like this and no connection at all to a projector on the other side of the room and run it from an iPhone. So that's the kind of thing that's not coming 10 years from now or a year from now. It's coming within months, those kind of developments. The presentation is about the mobile internet, as I call it, and incidentally I have a blog, I have a newsletter, and feel free to get the information off my business cards and sign up for the newsletter if you want to read about it. The word app came into the vocabulary about a year ago with no explanation whatsoever. And people start hearing about apps and they think, what's this new thing called an app? Well, an app is a program. You used to install software, we used to upgrade our programs, now everything is called an app. That's the new word. I'm old-fashioned enough that I still talk about programs, and I'm going to mix the terminology to help you adapt to it, but an app is what we call a program. If you get a new copy of Microsoft Office, you will have just gotten a new app. So it's gone to all software now. Today's presentation, everything you are going to see is going to center around apps. Some of these apps came with my devices, either my iPhone or my iPad. Others I downloaded. Many are free, and most of them are between $1 and $4 if I had to pay for them, but there are $1,000 apps available. I'm going to start simple because I'm going to assume there's some people in here who do not know the technology at all, and I don't want to leave anybody behind, but we'll go a little quickly into some more advanced subjects. For example, if I wanted to do some cooking, if I was interested in being a cook, I could call up a recipe like this on the iPad. My wife has always complained when I say something about putting recipes on the computer. She would say, well, the computer is not in the kitchen. And I always treated that as a minor inconvenience, but she didn't seem to think that was the case. So things like interactive recipes where you can do searches and things. And if I was in the building construction industry, I might want to calculate the slope and the angles and the size of the treads on the stairs. So I would use a calculator like this, and it would walk me through the steps of the process. What I'm going to do now, this is a Keynote presentation. Now, Keynote is Apple's version of PowerPoint. It's a presentation program. What I'm going to do is stop the presentation. That's what I'm running, Keynote, right now. And now I'm on the screen of the iPad. You couldn't do this with the old iPad, the one that came out last year, which is why I had to buy the iPad 2. You could not mirror the screen of an iPad. You could only do a Keynote presentation. So the day this one came out, I needed to upgrade because I talk about tablets and I couldn't actually show them on the screen. So if you've used a smartphone or any other modern device like that, the one thing you can't see in the presentation is my finger, but my finger is right above the screen now. And if you know how these kind of things work, you move your finger across the screen to select some more apps or move it back and forth. I've got about 450 apps on here, and I have that many because I like to study the subject, I like to explain it to other people, and so I have a lot of apps that I just use to learn and explain that I don't actually use. Very few people would need more than about 50 apps. I can, at least that's my what I'd imagine. I have a similar number, 400 and some, available on the iPhone. And if I get a new app and put it on the iPhone, it immediately goes over to the iPad. So it's available on both of those. So let's walk through this. To use this device like this, you touch the screen instead of moving a mouse and point a cursor. You just actually get to touch the things that you're talking about. I'm going to go from left to right, and I'm going to start with the books application. And so these are books that are loaded that are, oh, well, we're right into Winnie the Pooh. I didn't intend to do that, but we can read Winnie the Pooh if we want to and thumb through the pages, which means that this is a book reader, just like Barnes & Noble or Kindle or all of those book readers. That same software is available here. So you don't necessarily need both devices. Now, there will be people who will argue about the readability on a tablet versus the readability on an ebook reader, and I don't want to get into that right now. But here's my library of books that I have right now that I've downloaded. And so if I select one, then I can read it. So the library is there. I'm just going to close these and jump real quickly to the next one. The education is going to change. Education and healthcare are probably going to change more than any other two fields. And education dramatically, because the amount of materials that students have and that students need to carry around with them and buy and dispose of at the end of every school year. But I would be terribly disappointed if education meant just copying pages of textbooks and putting them on an ebook reader of some kind. That's the easy way to do it. A lot of that's been done. But the next book that I'm going to show you, War in the Pacific, some of you are old enough to remember when that happened, or you have heard about it. This is the kind of interactive thing, a very, very simple version of it. Yeah, we'll go back. I didn't mean to hit that one. Table of contents, Imperial Japan, Pearl Harbor, of course. A report from the United States Navy. It just takes too long to go through it, but there are videos, there are sound clips, there are interviews with officials and generals and so forth in the book, and that's the kind of thing that I'll show you a little bit later more in education. If education is just reading books on a screen, I think it wouldn't be a very big advance. Of course, we all want to know what's going on in the Minneapolis area, and this is the latest edition, just updating. I'm on the internet right here. And we can see what Petters is doing. We can see the State Court of Appeals. Read it just like you were doing at home on a computer. But somebody would say to me, well, I can do this on my computer. And I would say two things. That proves that this is a computer, and it is a real computer. It's not something different than the computer. But the second thing I would ask is, where's your computer now? Well, it's in my office. Or I have a laptop. Where's that? Well, it's in the trunk of my car. Or it's over there in the corner in my briefcase. And so the dramatic difference that tablets bring about is the accessibility wherever you are. If you were sitting bored at this meeting on my presentation, you could be reading the newspaper on your laptop, and most people around wouldn't know it. They wouldn't hear papers rustling. They would think you were just thinking, and you'd be sitting there reading, updating, sending some email, or doing whatever. So there's a big, big difference in accessibility in these kind of devices.